So 2024 is obviously, we're here in the new year. What do you feel like overall, just kind of starting off like now compared to a year ago, like what things look like and everything?
Well, people are excited
Yeah.
because the interest rates are coming down.
Right.
Because, we saw them approach 8.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of people are complaining about how 2023 wasn't an awesome year for them, especially compared to 2022. And of course, when the rates were under 3%. We don't need to talk about that today, though. But I think it's the momentum, the excitement, so many people have been on the fence for most of 2023. So I have people coming out of the woodwork like, okay,
it's like that time.
Let's go.
And that's what's so crazy is that, it's like reality's kind of sunk in. It's like, look, 3% rates. That was great. It's just not reality.
Yeah.
But I think overall the activity and it has been super, super positive versus a year ago where we were just staring up that mountain of like, okay, we know rates are going to be going up. What's going to be happening? Now that we've overcome that, we've come down. It's a totally different environment.
Yeah. And I'm hearing a lot of panic of, are we going to be back to multiple offers?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Am I going to be able to get into the house? I shouldn't have waited.
I know.
Because yes, the rates were higher last year, but guess what? You could refinance when things started to go down. So it's some people that stayed on the fence are wishing that they hopped off the fence because now, it's going to be a little harder. And I see that, sellers are going to start to get their list price and then some and won't have to do all the concessions that they've had to do in the past year.
Which is for a buyer, if you're a buyer in that market, and again, we are on the same page about this, is that, the concessions from the sellers and everything of like this market that we're in, take advantage of those now. And like, they're willing to negotiate on price and pay closing costs and do a 2-1 buy down. Things that are all going to be beneficial for a buyer because, you can always change your rate, but you can't change the terms that you get the home for initially.
100%.
So, that's completely something that we're trying to strategize and talk to people about is that affordability obviously is something to think about. But if rate is such like a huge thing that you're focused on, take advantage of those things while you can before things really get crazy in the market.
And I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
I feel the same way. And it's like, we have so many people that are coming back into the market. I think the stat is for every 1% that the rate comes down, there's a certain million buyers that come into the market. And it's just like, that's something that people are waiting on to happen and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, which is great. Rates will be lower and everything. But for those buyers that are really like, I need closing costs paid and I want to do something like a 2-1 buy down, it is going to be difficult. But the main thing is trying to figure out what is going to be the most beneficial for them. But if that's the biggest thing you're worried about, don't worry about that.
And when I've had buyers that purchased when they never thought they would purchase last year. And, I had one that was over 7%. And the only way that we could get her over the hump was stop focusing on the interest rate, focus on the payment.
Right.
And focus on the numbers. Stop looking at the rate. Because that's, you can't
win. You can't win that.
You can't win that. So it's like if you can change the perspective in the conversation. I love sharing. I bought my first house in 2000. The rate. How much do you think the rate was?
2000. Oof, man. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be way off, but you go.
8.25.
No way.
And I didn't know any better. I was like, it's my first house, and guess what? We refinanced a couple of times.
There you go.
And so it just ebbs and flows. But the buyers that purchased and they got that great rate were really, really lucky. But unfortunately, people need to buy and sell. People need to relocate. And we're in a market where there isn't enough housing still.
Right.
So it's just, you got to change, you got to be able to shift with what's happening with rates, partner with a great lender to help get you to the other side.
Right.
So,
and again, it's something that, rates are relative and every lender has different rates. They're pretty similar, but for the most part, all over the place. But it's more about the strategy piece of it and like fitting your financial plan. And it's something that we do a lot of different programs where we make them the most strongest buyers possible to help them win offers. And obviously, you're the one that leads them there to find the properties and find the best terms for them specifically on that.
And I think Game Changer was giving them an option not having to have their home subject to sale.
Right.
Being able to take that away because let's face it, there are people that need to sell in order to buy.
Right.
But it's not always as strong.
Right.
I mean, you've got to be strong in all aspects of your offer. So it's not just about offering the most.
Exactly.
It's about all the different pieces to the offer, but being able to take that contingency away.
It's huge.
And you guys were like the first that were offering the program.
Right.
So it's pretty clutch.
It's really interesting. And that's like, so if they qualify from that standpoint of having that and they want to do that, again, there's ways that we can go about making it happen to where they don't have to sell their home. Some people are, though, like, I'm just not comfortable with doing that. I really want to make that the sale happening as I'm buying. Totally fine. But the main thing is that we want to provide as many options as possible so that it's their decision on what they want to do.
Yeah. And I'm not here saying you can't have a sale home contingency, because I've taken many buyers and sellers through that journey of having their home not even on the market yet. They get the house, we go on the market the next day with their home they're selling, and boom, it all works out.
It all works out.
So I think it's a very common contingency. It scares some people. So just being able to educate them through each step.
For sure.
So that they can get to the finish line. Without.
And sometimes people ask, how can I make my offer as strong as possible? And you have to be blunt and tell them, well, this is what it would take to have the strongest offer. And that's what it would take.
Yeah. I mean, I've won buyers' homes just by digging into inspection period.
Yeah.
I'll have the inspection already set up for the next day.
That's awesome.
Already set up. We've got 3-day contingency period. I mean, I've had people bring offers to me on behalf of my sellers, and one had a 21-day contingency period.
Jeez.
I had never seen anything like that. It's like, how you really got to dig in. It's not just about the amount. And I've won homes for buyers where we were not even the highest bid. We had the strongest terms.
Right.
So it's really all about strategy. And that's my favorite part about writing offers, because it's like, okay, how are we my buyer wants this house. How am I going to get them in this house? And it's like every situation is different, and it truly depends on what's happening in the market.
That's true. It is. And that's like, it's a team. It's a team unity. So like when clients are, having you as a realtor, us as a lender, like us being on the same page and working together of saying, I can answer these questions for you so that you have the most information and knowledge of like making the best offer.
Right.
And so I love doing that too. Like the strategy education piece, we're on the same page about that. So I think that's awesome.
So good.
Welcome to our studio, man. You're going to be on the show. You're going to sit right here in the middle.
I'm going to share why I work at Churchill now, and it's because of you. I've been in the business for 21 years, and I was like, no preferred lender, not doing it. And Victoria, my broker, just has great things to say about your team. Mm-hmm. So I had a situation where I had a deal going very, very south. And it was an FHA transaction. And there was no saving it. It was a little bit of a backstory. It was FHA, and this was one of the only associations in this area that allowed for FHA financing, which made it
for a condo.
It was for a condo. Right. It was super important to my buyer to be FHA because they didn't want to have to put a lot of money down.
Right.
And that was the only way they were going to do this deal. Well, the lender that they were working with screwed up. There's a condo questionnaire that you fill out, but because this association was FHA approved, this questionnaire did not come into play. There was an active litigation, and at the end of the day, this lender was never going to be able to close it, and it got missed, and they wouldn't release it. They wouldn't admit fault. They wouldn't admit that they couldn't do anything to help us. Oh, God. So I called my broker, help. Victoria got on the phone with Mike, and within a few minutes, we can close that, and we can close it in 11 days.
We closed it quickly.
Very fast. They released it. The buyers were... So they thought it was over, and you guys saved the day.
That's awesome.
So to this day, and we've done several more deals since. This was back in October of 2023. And ever since then, service has been absolutely fantastic. Oh. And there's a lot of lenders to choose from in Middle Tennessee. Yeah. But no one can provide the service that you guys provide. And the one other story I'll share is I was meeting with a buyer on a Sunday morning, and they didn't have a lender yet. And I said, well, hold on, let me give Austin a call. So I put it on speaker and I'm praying. And it was like, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And who picks up after the second ring?
Oh, yeah.
This guy, and my clients were like, wow. And I'm like, Austin, you were making me look so good. But just the availability.
Yeah.
I think it's like, for me, I'm working nights and weekends.
Exactly.
I need a lender that's available. And I just don't think that that's ever not happened. Like, so far.
For sure.
So we're off to a great start.
Well, Austin's fantastic. And we always say, if you ask our partners, what's the one thing they love most is that we are accessible 24/7.
Yep.
And we know that it's a very time-sensitive job. So it's 6 in the morning, 10 at night, quick questions, pre-approvals. We're always going to be available for you for sure. And just to backtrack, we're just so thankful to have you guys as partners. And we love working with you and Victoria and a lot of folks over there. And we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you take great care of us agents. So, I mean, it's hard to find that kind of service. Like, I want the best service for my clients. And if you can't provide the same level I'm providing, I don't want to work with you. That is like, it's what you do. So
well, we get 5-star reviews on this kid every day. We're lucky to have him on our team for sure.
Well, so you crush it in everything that you do. So if we make you look good in any possible way, that's what we're here for. And that's what we're going to do.
I think in any market, with a listing, you got to provide the same level. So like when stuff was flying off the shelves, people were just using their cell phone, taking pictures and throwing it up and it would sell. I have it's called Meredith's marketing strategy, and it's a seamless strategy where I've got social media and it's a whole process and everybody gets the same level of service. You get a seller's roadmap that's going to tell you exactly what happens from start to finish. And, I've got a strategy out on social media, and then of course all the normal, Zillow and Realtor.com and all that. But I think the most important part of that whole marketing strategy is the photos and video content. So making sure that the property looks beautiful online, and so a buyer's going to pick the property without even they'll walk in the door and be like, "Yep, that's exactly what I want." But I think it's an art. You're selling homes, and you've got a product that you're producing, and it's got to be perfect. So you can't just take if your realtor is using their cell phone, you need to pick up the phone and call somebody else. So I think just making sure your home looks beautiful.
Sure, presentation is so important.
Yeah. So I think having that strategy in place really makes it so, days on market today are, a little more. They're, 30 to 45 days depending on price range.
Right.
But, no matter what the days on market are, everybody should get the same level of service.
Right.
Which is what you'll get with me. You're a Nashville realtor.
That is amazing. One of the things that, as far as level of service, is something that's really huge for us at Churchill, because that's the backbone of what we do. And so same way with you, service is such a big deal and such a big importance. We had a mutual client that we were working with, and essentially one of the things that you're providing for your services is, trying to help them list their home, and kind of share some of those things that you were going to do to help them out.
Yeah. So this was a unique property, downtown penthouse.
Oh yeah.
Property.
Yes.
So this was and it was one of those properties where there's not a lot of comps, and it's hard to put that value on it when you don't have a lot of solds. So for this particular client, and I've done it for several where I just kind of struggle with that number, pay for an appraisal.
That solves everything.
Yeah. So I had an appraiser come out, and we got that done. It's going to hit the market probably in the next 30 to 60 days.
Awesome.
But yeah, providing when it's a struggle to price it, and I don't want to just guess, because if the data doesn't support it, guessing doesn't help your client. Because
100%.
if you overprice it, then you're going to be on the market too long. If you underprice it, then you're going to be wondering how much money got left on the table.
So true.
So pulling in an appraiser really takes it so that, there's that value right there, and you can take it from there.
Takes the guessing out of it, and it literally says, look, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be an appraisal in the process. Why not go ahead and say, this is what it's going to be based on the market right now? That's not you giving that opinion. That's based on the actual data that's out there. And
that's part of my marketing strategy. I didn't say, hey, you're going to write me a check for this. That was just part of what I provided as my marketing, so that, he's got a copy of it. And
that's huge.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic, because I've not heard that strategy from any other
Nobody
realtor.
does that.
So going above and beyond like that is fantastic.
We're paying for photos. We're paying for videography, an appraisal. So it just, it's providing that extra level so that they get the most money for their property. Like
absolutely.
This, selling your home, it's likely one of your largest investments. Why would you leave any money on the table?
Exactly.
And it's my job to make sure they get as much as possible. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I'd love to encourage buyers and sellers to interview multiple agents.
Okay.
I think it's really important to do that. And when I'm sitting down with a seller, I say, make sure you talk to at least two or three others, because it's important to be working with an agent that's in the market full time. Because if you've got an agent that's doing this part time, it's hard for them to be able to pivot with where the market's going.
For sure.
So interview 2 or 3 agents and ask them, how many homes did you help buy or sell in the past year? And they should be able to tell you.
Sure.
And, so that's really important to me, because it's, experience is important.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, how many homes had you sold in 2023?
32.
That's amazing.
So almost 18 million.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome.
The year before was almost 20 million.
Really?
And I did 36. So it was so there were many people that 2023 was a big downturn.
Yeah.
It was a downturn for me. I was down about 2 million, but still we had a great year.
That's amazing.
Despite the rates.
Fantastic year.
It was just a matter of being able to adjust strategy.
Exactly.
And so that's what you have to be able to do.
Everything that we do is reactive. We talk about that every single day. And so it's, what was the norm in 2020, 2021 is no longer the case. So we have to pivot with how things are.
Well, and it was hard when the rates started to go up and the folks that bought their first home at a 2.75 interest rate. How do you have that conversation?
You can't.
And you got to do the perspective, but they don't want to hear that. They're like, I bought it for 2.75. That's what I want. And it's just really being able to say, well, too bad. You can't say that. You've got to have some empathy for these people but, I remember when my husband and I refinanced and we were under 2.5. And I was like, it pained me greatly to when we bought a new home in 2022 and the rate was 5.49, which is still great.
Still great.
Well, think about it. They say the largest percentage of homeowners are, these first-time home buyers.
Exactly.
These kids have never experienced rates out of the 2s and 3s in their lifetime. So to go to 4 or 5 or 6 or 8, that is a total shock. Where those, I've been in business for 28 years, I've seen rates at 8-9%. So it's not surprising, but for a lot of people, they've never been out of that 2-3 environment.
I think it's just changing the narrative
of,
well, too bad. It's, this is the reality and this is how we're going to work through it to get you into the house.
That's right.
And not concentrating on the number of the interest rate, but what does the payment look like? What can you afford? Let's stop talking about, don't focus on that 6.5 or 7.
Right.
But anyway.
But it's funny, people that bought in 2020, 2021, yes, rates are higher now, but they rode that wave of appreciation over those past couple of years. So it's like, rates are a little bit higher, but as rates have been going up, so have home prices and appreciation. So all you're doing is growing wealth and equity.
But I am seeing sellers that bought in that time, instead of selling, they're renting.
Yep.
They're renting the house out. So
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. I've had a couple of sellers that were going to list this year and they've decided to rent. So hopefully they'll be coming in 2025.
That's awesome. Well, investing in real estate, if people that want to do that, the best investment property is your first primary home that you retain.
Right.
So I think that's awesome. So Meredith, thank you so much for coming today. You are our first Realtor Spotlight and you did not disappoint. You're amazing. You have a huge presence on social media. You're all over the place. And anyways, we really do truly appreciate you.
Hey, you guys make it possible to do what I do.
Awesome.
So thank you.